Yo, 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 what's up, everyone? Welcome to the True Blue Podcast. I'm your host, Zachary Sucardi. You can find me on Instagram at True Blue Podcast. You can find my profile on Spotify at True Blue Podcast. Happy to be here this evening. It is the 28th, November 28th. Shout out to my friend Heather. It was her birthday yesterday. Great friend of mine. Hope she had a good birthday. We're going to get into, since we last spoke, we're going to get into the self-care tip, which is going to be, let me fucking get this shit to load and I'll tell you. Let's see, open link, please. 20 years later, holy shit. 7 things to say instead of, I'm fine, if you really aren't. So this is going to be our self-care tip. Again, it's 7 things to say instead of, I'm fine, if you really aren't. And then music later from Baden. So, I'm at church today and I see this guy pull in. He's got a charger. And he has a sticker on his back window saying Suicidal tendencies. For those who don't know, that is a hardcore punk band from like the 80s out of California. And they're big in Hispanic culture. A lot of the members are Hispanic. Their style kind of borrows from the from like the cholo kind of look. And they've been around a long time. Couple different like renditions of the band over the years, but that's sort of like their main thing. They're big into skateboarding early on. So this dude has a Suicidal tendencies sticker, okay? And I'm going to confession because I'm a good Catholic. And honestly, I like going to confession. It helps me free myself. I pray to God a lot, but confession does help me. It's not for everybody, but it helps me. So I'm there, and this dude with the Suicidal tendencies sticker, apparently he makes rosaries. Who would have thunk it? So he's giving all these people in line rosaries. This is like 3 or 4 people in line. And he looks at me. He's like, would you like one? I said, sure. He said, what color? And he had a bunch of black ones. I'm like, black's cool. So he gave them to me. He gave me one, I should say. And it was really cool. His name was Charles. That's my father's name and my brother's name. So I don't know. Anytime I hear that name or a name that's like within my family, I'm always like, okay. And yeah, he was really cool. And I asked him about a Suicidal tendency sticker, and this is what he said. He goes, 3 things. 1, the band. 2, how I drive. I thought, oh, shit. 3, and this was kind of cool. He started saying how, like, suicidal tendencies is like a way of giving yourself over to God. Like, almost like dying for God. Not physically dying, but like sort of like surrendering. Like living God's will. Ultimately living for something greater. And I loved it. I thought it was very cool how multifaceted that sticker was. And I thought we were just going to talk about Suicidal, the band. I saw them maybe twice. They have a really great song called You Can't Bring Me Down. You can't bring me down. You can't bring me down. Real positive. But I love that explanation. It's like dying to be reborn, dying for something greater. Not being so caught up in the bondage of self. You know, and I really enjoyed that. And we were chatting for a little bit. It was cool. You know, I asked him some questions about why he does it and everything. And he asked me if he needed me, if he asked me if I needed him to pray for anything for me. And I said, yeah. And then he told me what he asked me to pray for, and I thought it was pretty cool. So I went into confession. The priest blessed the rosary, which was pretty neat. So just a little story I wanted to share with you. I thought that was kind of cool. Excuse me. Suicidal sticker, the multifaceted meanings. His name Charles, like my dad and my brother. and just kind of like a cool thing. And it really made my night. Today it was kind of tough today. I had a little bit of anxiety. I'll go like months with no anxiety, and then all of a sudden, bam. And it feels like my chest is loose and tight all at the same time. So that was a really nice like connection tonight. So I went to have some sushi tonight to this place here in Albuquerque called Sushi Sake. And I've been going to this place for 17 years. And when I walked in, I always it's fucking cold here, right? And I always do the sit me by the fireplace joke. There's no fireplace there. And, the fucking guy laughed. And he comes up to me, he's like, hey, the owner recognizes you. She says that you used to work with her. I'm like, no. And I think he meant, or maybe she, I don't know where it got, where the translation was lost, that she recognizes me from going there. So she comes up to me and we're just chatting, and yeah, it was her. And she like tells me how I look the same. She's like, you're very young. You look the same. And I'm like, oh, damn. You're charming me. Oh, you're charming me here. Damn. How you doing? I thought that was kind of nice. I'm just there to fucking. And then it was so cold. The guy's like, you want some tea? And it felt like I was a host in this dude's house when he asked me if I wanted tea. Yeah, he charged me for it, but I mean, still, it was like something about it felt so fucking wholesome, So I had some tea. And then I chopped it up with the fucking owner who recognizes me from 17 fucking years ago. And she looked amazing too. She barely fucking aged. It was just a cool little interaction. And her name is Susie. And they sell sushi. Susie Sushi. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And then, on my way home, I talked on the phone with my ex-girlfriend, which was cool. I gotta say, like, having some relationships with, like, having a relationship with my ex-girlfriend it feels so, like, fucking healthy. Because I don't have relationships with all my ex-girlfriends, that's for sure. But it was cool. It was like a cool, like, we talked for about an hour and a half. And it feels like mature and healthy. We're not good as a couple, but we can still like be, and I hate this word. Boy, do I hate this word. Here goes. We can be friends. Yeah. Ugh. Like, yeah, it was cool. It's like to connect with her and to talk to her like a friend and to care about her and stuff. It was cool. Like I really enjoyed our connection and conversation tonight. So shout out to her. And so kind of a little sad note here. I was talking to a friend of mine, right? We're on the phone. He's from Jersey, And I'm bringing up one of my other friends who I thought he knew. And he goes, I think she passed away. And I'm like, what? And then I'm like, no, she definitely did not. I talked to her the other day. And he's like, oh, it was another girl named Kristen. I'm like, well, what? And sure enough, this girl that we went to high school with, name is Kristen Andrews. She passed away. I went on the Googles and looked her up. Found her obituary from 2014, 10 years ago. She passed away. I remember her. I went to see this band Earth Crisis with her and my friend Gary up in the Chance in Poughkeepsie, New York. Her fucking dad drove us. We were like fucking 14, 15. He drove us like 2 hours up to fucking upstate New York to see Earth Crisis. I remember I had a fucking sunburn, which isn't hard to do. And I was like singing along, and I can remember like getting hit in the face and like stuff and in my neck, back, whatever. And I was like fucking killing me because of the sunburn. But it was awesome. And like we weren't tight at all. But we went to that show, and I remember like hanging out with her a couple times. She had a barn in her backyard, a fucking barn in New Jersey. And I was really sad to hear about her passing. So I want to dedicate this episode to her and her soul. She was a very, what I remember of her, like a very, like, eclectic girl. She had a lot of like cool interests. I mean, if she's into Earth Crisis, um, and yeah, I just, it's just amazing how you connect. You like, you experience people sometimes for a brief moment in life, but when you hear about them passing on into the next plane, it just, I don't know. It makes me feel sad. So I want to honor her and her spirit by dedicating this podcast episode to her. So thank you for indulging me with the Since We Last Spoke. I know it was a little bit melancholy, but I do appreciate it. Now let's get on to the self-care tip. All right, so I found this tip on Instagram. The fucking page is called Mind Matters with Div. Mind Matters with Div. So go check out that page. And these are 7 things to say instead of I'm fine if you really aren't. Plus, it comes with an explanation on why each phrase is helpful and how it can meet your needs. Now, I like this because I know when I hear that from some people, I know they're full of shit. I'm fine. I'm like, yeah, sure. You don't sound fine. You don't look fine. But okay. And, some people you just got to say, okay. You say a little prayer for them and move on. But people who are in your life and that you care about, check up on those peoples. So if you're one of those people who say, I'm fine, and you're really not fine, here's a couple things that you can say to articulate your emotions. First one is, things have actually been pretty rough recently. When you have space to listen, let me know and I can share more. This is great because it gives people the choice to share with you. So it's sharing instead of like emotionally dumping. You're not just like blah 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 blam 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 blam. You're being honest, saying things have been rough. When you have some space to listen, let me know and we can, I can share some more. I like that. It's a very healthy way of acknowledging it. The next one on this list is, I'm just taking it day by day. Small steps is what is helpful for me right now. Wow, that's fucking honest. Holy moly. It shares that you're not just doing fine, but it doesn't give too much detail. Like let's say you're not comfortable with sharing everything yet. So you would just say, I'm just taking it day by day. Small steps is what is helpful for me right now. I mean, damn, that's fucking honest. That is fucking honest. Again, these are 7 things to say instead of I'm fine if you really aren't fine. Next, things have been better. I'm trying to be patient through this season of life. Again, it shares that you're not doing the best, but it doesn't share too much. So you can articulate yourself without having to get too detailed, without having to just say I'm fine and kind of be a bit like passive aggressive. And again, this is mostly geared towards people who like you really care about, not just like your average like neighbor that you just met or your coworker that you never talk to. Not that you can't get into it with them, but this is more like geared towards, from my perspective, this is more geared towards people who really give a shit. Next up on the list of things to say instead of I'm fine if you really aren't. This one's kind of wordy. Here goes. I'm not sure how to put my feelings into words at the moment. It's been a lot recently. I appreciate you asking, but I'm not sure how to talk about it now. This lets people know that you're struggling. You need to set some boundaries around the conversation by saying it's been a lot recently. I appreciate you asking, but I'm not sure how to talk about it now. Okay. So maybe a response to that would say, okay, hey, I'm hearing you. Whenever you are ready to talk about it, let's revisit this. Again, this is healthy communication. This could definitely work with fucking couples. I know in some of my relationships this would have been helpful. That's for sure. 7 things to say instead of I'm fine if you really aren't. Next up is I appreciate your concern for my well-being, but I don't feel like sharing at this moment. This expresses gratitude by saying, hey, I appreciate you fucking hollering at me and looking out for me. But it sets a conversational boundary, saying, hey, I don't feel like sharing at this moment. Maybe you say, I'll reach out to you when I do feel like it. Or maybe the person says, I hear you. I'm always here, though, if you need to, when you are ready to open up. I like this. This is a good self-care tip because it really is handy. There's so many I'm fines in the world, and fuck that attitude. Fuck that shit. Like, really expand upon it. Don't just be passive. Or don't think like you're not worth it. You're totally worth it. Next up on the list of 7 things to say instead of I'm fine. I'm not doing the best. I'm open to talking about it, but I would prefer a listening ear versus problem solving right now. Now, this clearly states what you need from the other person if you don't want to share. This one I love. I love this one. Because sometimes I know when I'm feeling shit, I don't want someone to give me resolutions. Just fucking listen. Don't interrupt. And just fucking listen. You know what I'm saying? I love this one. I'm not doing the best. I'm open to talking about it. But I would prefer a listening ear versus problem solving. And maybe that you fucking want some feedback. Maybe you say, hey, I'm looking for some feedback. But some fucking times I know I've been there and someone's like, what's up? And I'm like, well, this. And they're just like, blah, 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 do this. And you're like, shit. I should have prefaced this saying, look, I just need you to listen. Because sometimes that's all you need to do is just get it off your chest. You know what I'm saying? So this one. Oh, excuse me. Oh, pardon me. I fucking yawn there. I came on pretty heavy. All right, I think, is this the last one? Yeah, it's the last one. So 7 things to say instead of I'm fine if you really aren't. The last one is you don't say anything. Plus, you change the subject to something you feel comfortable discussing. It's normal not to feel like sharing, answering questions, or being comfortable responding to certain people. You can set conversational boundaries without being rude. Perhaps you change the subject to something else you feel a little bit more comfortable discussing. Or you ask the other person something about it. This one's just okay. You don't say anything about it, you change the subject to something you feel comfortable discussing. Okay. This one I would probably say is more work related. But I'm not a big fan of this one. Because it really doesn't kind of like support or highlight what you're going through. This one, I'd say, excuse me. Damn, I'm like all tired. This one I would say is more of like a work one. Where you're like, look, I don't want to get into it with you. You don't have the bandwidth to take on what I got going on. Or you don't feel comfortable, so you change the subject to something you feel more comfortable discussing. Or maybe you address it, go, look, I'm not into talking about this, but how you doing, or what's up with you, or what's for dinner, or what's for lunch, whatever. So again, these are 7 things to say instead of I'm fine if you really aren't. A lot of good shit in here. My favorite again is saying, hey, look, I just need someone to vent to. I don't need any feedback. This again I found on Instagram at Mind Matters with Div, D-I-V. All right, well, let's get into the True Blue, Only Blue playlist. All right, this song is by Baden called Schlump. It's on the soundtrack. It's Les Vents. I'll say it's like a fucking American. Les Vents Contraries. It's probably like Le Ventes Contraries. No, that sounds Spanish. I don't know how to say it in fucking French, but it's French. It's from a fucking movie that came out in 2020. The song's called Schlump. It's SCHLUMMP. Very beautiful song. Really a beautiful piece, I'd say. It's about a minute. Minute and 8 seconds. Electronic right off the bat. Very melancholy, this song. Kind of a melancholy vibe here in this episode, but that's okay. Just being real with you. Being real with you. It starts with a repetitive kind of like piano part, and then it kicks in with the acoustic guitar. The drums come following in. Very nice backing vocals. You hear like this like female backing vocal. Classic piano kicks in towards the end. It's a very beautiful song. Again, it's only a minute and 8 seconds. It's a soundtrack, and it sounds like the whole soundtrack is like 25 minutes. Excuse me. Pardon me with all these yawns in this episode. But it's a very beautiful piece. And I'm excited to share this. So I was listening to this band called the Binary Marketing Show. Let me get their name right. It's a super long name. I'm going to talk about them on a future episode. They're called the Binary Marketing Show. Yeah, that's the band that I was listening to their album, and then when it was done, this song came on. This song, Schlump. And it's beautiful. Again, a beautiful piece, very melancholy, but I think you can get a lot out of this. So I'm adding this to the True Blue playlist. You can find it on Instagram. Go to the bio, click on the fucking link tree. You'll see the first link on there. Or if you're on fucking Spotify, just look me up on True Blue Podcast, and you can find it. So there you have it. Session 97. Don't forget, music is self-care. Thanks for rolling with me. You guys have a great week. Take care of each other. Speak up. Love each other. Enjoy this beautiful life. God bless. Peace.